Welcome in to the 48 Minutes podcast on Believe. I'm Ross Geiger, the former NBA video coordinator, and I'm joined alongside Bruce Bernstein, our four-time Emmy Award winner who spent more than 3 decades at ESPN producing NBA shows, SportsCenter, and soaking up knowledge from the best hoop analysts in the business. Also joining us is the 2-time Emmy Award winner, Michael Worldby Freer, who's a senior writer at Stat Factor, specializing in writing advanced statistical NBA reports for various announcers across the league. This is episode number 226, the Jalen Brunson episode, as the Knicks floor general was named the NBA Cup MVP after leading New York to the 2026 NBA Cup championship earlier this season. Now let's go ahead and get right into the 48 minutes weekend preview, because on Friday night, we've got World B's Charlotte Hornets hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. So World B, I leave it up to you here first. What are you looking forward to in this big matchup?
Well, it's going to be a little diminished here with the fact that the Hornets are going to miss probably two of their starters. They have the best starting five in the league. When you look at in terms of net efficiency, they outscore opponents. Bridges, Moussa Diabate, LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and Con Knipple. That lineup is outscoring opponents by over 27 points per 100 possessions. It's an unbelievable figure. Easily the highest net efficiency in the league for any team. But they're going to be without two of those guys. And the Cavs are the highest team. They have the best offense in the league right now in February. So they're going to be coming in raring to go. They've already taken 2 out of 3 from the Hornets. But this is a Hornets team now. Since they started this run in January, they have wins over the Thunder in OKC, wins over the Nuggets in Denver, a win over the Rockets in Houston, a win over the Magic in Orlando, a win over the Lakers in LA, and not to mention beating the Spurs, beating the 76ers, beating the Raptors. This team is not going to come in, afraid of the way the Cavaliers are playing so well right now. The one thing is, the last time these two teams played, Charlotte managed just 87 points. So that's something they have to improve on if they want to have a shot in this game. I think they will. I think the Hornets are rolling these days. I believe in them, and I think they're going to come away with this win on Friday.
All right, Bruce?
Friday's matchup, it's a back-to-back for both teams. Cavs play the Nets on Thursday, and the Bugs host the Rockets on Thursday. Game at the Hive in Charlotte. Hornets have won 5 of their last 6. Cavs have won 9 of their past 10 road games and 14 of their last 18 overall. So Charlotte, as we know, started the season 7-18, but they've gone 19-11 over the last 2 months. And although Charlotte is a handful every night these days, this game is a veteran team like the Cavs. They need to win. They got to show everybody that they're back to last season's form when they won 64 games in the regular season. So I like Cleveland in this one.
All right. And I like the backcourt matchup in this one. I'm really looking forward to the matchup between James Harden and Lonzo Ball. Which star can do what they do best, which is push the pace, create and find others for good looks, and, of course, knock down their typical high-volume attempts from three-point range. I think that's going to be a big key in this one. I think, as World B mentioned, with some of the guys out due to suspensions on the Hornets, Lonzo Ball is going to – or LaMelo Ball, I'm sorry, I've been calling him Lonzo. LaMelo is going to definitely have to step up his game and contribute at a higher level offensively for this group and really help fill it up from the outside for this group. But I think the Cavs have been rolling, and I think they're going to take down the short-handed Hornets in this one. Now, moving on to Saturday night, we've got KD and the Rockets making their annual visit to Madison Square Garden to face off against World B's Knicks. Bruce, what's your thoughts on this big-time matchup?
I thought you were going to let World B go first because, he is a fan of like 10 different NBA teams. And you figured, it's anyway. Prior to the season, I felt like Houston was the biggest threat to OKC. When Fred VanVleet went down before a game was even played, that was a big setback, but I thought they'd overcome that one. But when Steven Adams went down in late January and was lost for the season, I felt that was a bigger deal. Here's why. Houston's team identity is embodied by Adams, the rugged, glass-eating terror whose motor and strength are off the charts. The team has gone 8-5 without him, but he'll be hard to replace. Now, the Knicks, they had a cold streak at the start of January, but have since gone on a really hot streak of 10 wins in 12 games. And as is the case with Friday's Cavs-Hornets game, this one is a back-to-back for both of these teams as well. Both of them have championship aspirations. Both are strong rebounding teams as far as differential. Houston's number 1, New York's number 3. Charlotte, by the way, is number 2, speaking of successful teams. But I like the Knicks to win a close game over the Rockets since this game is at MSG.
Okay. Will be.
The biggest thing for me in this matchup is the fact that the Knicks are playing at home, and the MSG, they're a much different team, 21-7 than they are on the road, just 13-13. And the offense is so much better at home for them. They're averaging 120 points a game. They shoot 39% on threes. And the Rockets' offense, whether it's because of the loss of a player like Adams, who is a bigger deal than, as Bruce mentioned, people realize his offensive rebounding is just that is the Rockets' MO. They are dominant on the offensive glass like no team we've seen in recent memory. I mean, 40% of available offensive rebounds they're grabbing. And Steven Adams was a big part of that. Now that he's gone, I don't know if the offense for the Rockets can match up anymore. You know, since January 1st, in efficiency on offense, they're in the bottom 10. They're 25th in offensive efficiency. You wouldn't think that when you have a guy like KD running the show, playing the way he's playing, but that's where we're at. And if your offense can't keep up with the Knicks at MSG, it's going to be hard for them to win no matter how well their defense plays. So I like the Knicks in this one.
All right. And I think looking at this matchup, you know, we often talk about, and just did with LeBron James, let's enjoy these last few Garden performances from LeBron. I hate to say it, but why aren't we saying the same thing about Kevin Durant? I mean, Kevin Durant maybe only got a couple more years. He's now in the Western Conference with the Rockets. So I think this game with KD being in the Garden is just as fun, and one that we should certainly grow to appreciate. And as the great Walt Clyde Frazier would say, KD likes to razzle-dazzle under the bright lights as well, much like LeBron. So I could see a little razzle-dazzle from KD in this one, but I've got the Knicks defending their home court in this big-time matchup on Saturday night that will really give the Knicks a boost heading further into the second half of the season. Now, Bruce, on Sunday, we'll be treated to one of the game's most historic rivalries as your Boston Celtics make their one and only stop to Los Angeles to face, not the Clippers, the Lakers.
These teams met in Boston back on December 5th, and Boston cruised to an easy win because Luka didn't play and LeBron didn't play. So they played against Austin Reeves and a bunch of, guys. LA continues to be a bit of an enigma as they win a lot of close clutch games, but they frequently get their asses kicked. And emotions are definitely going to be running high with the Lakers unveiling the Pat Riley statue prior to the game as a trolling job for the ages. We talked about that a few days ago on our first show of the week. So don't be shocked if Joe Mazzulla uses that for some motivation. It's not like the Celtics are overmatched here. And Celtics Nation, as well as every player, knows how much Riles can't stand the Celtics. LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves are going to have something to say about this, but so is Jaylen Brown. I like Boston in a very close game, raining on Pat Riley's parade.
Well, all I got to say, Bruce, is how dare you call Marcus Smart just a guy?
He's just
I thought he was
your now.
Okay.
I love Marcus Smart. Believe me. Let me say something here quick. If there was a chance they could bring him back to retire as a Celtic, I would really think that would be great because he is still one of my favorite guys. And I guess I can't even wrap my brain around the fact that he's a Laker, and that's why I said that.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, it could be a Marcus Smart revenge game in LA come Sunday. I have to wait and see. World B, what's your thoughts on this matchup?
This is a very important matchup for the Eastern Conference as a whole. They want to establish themselves as, they don't want that reputation that they're the lesser conference. Well, these are matchups in the bright primetime lights there that you want to win. So this is a bigger deal than not beyond just the natural Celtics-Lakers rivalry. I'm wondering, Boston's offense right before the break was struggling. 2 straight games held under 100 points. But then, everybody's favorite remedy for a bad offense, the Bulls showed up. And all of a sudden, 126 points and 124 points and 18 threes later, did Boston find their offense again right at the break? So we'll see how that develops by the time we get to Sunday. I mentioned how important it is, for the Eastern Conference teams to play against the West. Well, Boston's won 4 in a row against the West, including the win at Houston in that mix. So, Bruce mentioned they were playing a shorthanded Laker team the first time, but Boston still 126 points and 24 threes the first time they met. Boston has surprised me more than any team in this league, and I think they're going to come away with this win on Sunday.
All right, and with Luka still dealing with a nagging hamstring injury, I like the Celtics as well to take a big road win in LA. My only hope is Jaylen Brown shoots the ball better than he did last weekend in LA in the All-Star game, because he was throwing up bricks in that one. They're going to need a much better performance for him to go ahead and take home the road victory against the Lakers. All right, let's go ahead and each pick a team to watch down the stretch here in this NBA season. Bruce, who are you keeping an eye on?
Well, at the risk of sounding like a homer, my team to watch is the Celtics. They continue to exceed expectations. They're showing themselves to be a solid contender even without Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown has lifted this team all season. Joe Mazzulla has done an incredible coaching job. They brought in Nick Vucevic at the trade deadline, moved Peyton Pritchard back to his six-man role, and they've been developing young talent like Nimi Keita, Luka Garza, Ugo Gonzalez, and Baylor Shireman. And now they may get All-NBA Jason Tatum back before the playoffs. So if JT joins with Brown and the indispensable Derek White, do you really want to play this team in a playoff series? They start a 4-game West Coast trip on Thursday, and they have a challenging schedule. They started a 4-game West Coast trip on Thursday, and they have a challenging schedule after that. But if they can stay in, let's say, the top 4 through the end of the regular season, get Tatum back with time to work off the rest, this team could make a run to the Eastern Finals. And after that, well, as Rudy T famously said, never underestimate the heart of a champion.
That is right. All bets would be off if the Celtics can make it to the NBA Finals this year. World B, who are you keeping an eye on?
I want to see my other team, the Orlando Magic. It's a team I'm going to be paying attention to. This is a team, they probably have been the most disappointing team, if not at least in the Eastern Conference this season, given where the expectations were at the start of the season. There were a lot of people that thought they could be the second best team in the Eastern Conference, and some experts predicted they could make it to the finals. And they are looking right now, they're a play-in tournament team, and they've absolutely underwhelmed. The injuries have factored in, there's no question about it, but they just haven't shot the ball very well. And a lot of heat's coming on Paolo Banchero for his play, and I want to see if he can step it up over the next 2.5 months as he gets to the playoff team. The 4th seed is probably not within reach for them anymore because of the way some of these teams in the East are playing. But to get out of the play-in tournament field is not out of the realm of possibility for this team. So they really have to step up their play. They have to show that they're the kind of team that resembles what we all thought they would be when the season began. Desmond Bane's got to start shooting better. Franz Wagner's got to get a better offensive game, and Paolo Banchero's got to start being the star that we all expect him to be.
World B, completing the trifecta to here tonight. We talked about the Hornets, Knicks, and of course now the Magic. Job well done. Now I'm keeping an eye on the San Antonio Spurs out west. That is my team because I think they still have a legitimate chance of overtaking the Thunder for the top seed come playoff time. Entering the All-Star break, they're riding a league-high 6-game winning streak, and we're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're currently sitting 3 games back of the Thunder, but they've also played 4 less games than OKC. So we all know that they've dominated the Thunder in the head-to-head matchup this year. So in the case that they hold, the same record at the end of the year, they have the tiebreaker against the Thunder if they finish with identical records. So, nothing would delight Wemby and company more than to sneak in at the last second and steal that number 1 seed as the cherry on top to their domination over OKC this regular season, and would certainly, make things interesting come playoff time should the top 2 seeds in the Thunder and the Spurs match up yet again later down the line. So that could be a lot of fun. a big storyline heading into the NBA Finals. And with that, that will do it for this edition of the 48 Minutes Podcast on Believe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with you next week to be sure you're up to date in 48 on all things around the association. Have a great weekend, everybody.